The room no one enters. St. Margaret's boarding school for girls was known for its strict discipline, old architecture, and a shadowed reputation. Students whispered about room 217, a room on the third floor that was always kept locked. Teachers warned them never to go near it, claiming it was unsafe due to maintenance issues. But students spread other stories, that the room was cursed, haunted, or worse. No one had entered it in decades. One autumn, a new student named Priya arrived. Bright and curious, she quickly noticed the whispers about room 217. Unlike the other girls, Priya was fascinated by the mystery. She spent her nights listening to the older girls' stories about the room, absorbing every eerie detail. They said they'd heard footsteps echoing from behind the locked door, or seen shadows moving under the crack. One girl swore she'd heard faint, distant cries late at night. As the days passed, Priya's curiosity grew stronger. She couldn't resist the temptation to uncover the truth, even if it meant breaking the rules. So, one night, when the hallways were empty and silent, she snuck out of her dorm and made her way to the third floor. The corridor leading to room 217 was dimly lit, with the faint glow of moonlight slipping through a nearby window. As she approached the door, she felt a sudden chill, as if the air itself was warning her to stay away. But her curiosity overpowered her fear. She reached out, turned the old, dusty doorknob, and, to her surprise, the door creaked open. Inside, the room was cold and dark. Dust filled the air, and a faint, musty smell lingered. In the center of the room was a single, ancient bed, covered in a white sheet that had long since turned gray with age. A wooden wardrobe stood in one corner, and a cracked mirror hung on the wall. The air felt heavy, and an unnatural silence filled the room. Suddenly, she heard a soft rustling sound coming from the corner by the wardrobe. Priya held her breath, her heart pounding, as she took a step closer. As she neared, the mirror's cracked surface seemed to shimmer, and she caught sight of something moving in its reflection. At first, it was just a shadow. But then, slowly, a face appeared in the mirror. A girl's face, pale and gaunt, with dark hollow eyes that seemed to stare directly into Priya's soul. She looked about the same age as Priya, but there was something unnatural, almost ghostly, about her presence. The girl's lips moved, forming words that Priya couldn't hear. Frozen in fear, Priya watched as the girl in the mirror lifted a hand and pointed directly at her. In a voice that was barely a whisper, the girl spoke, "Help me. I'm trapped." Priya's throat went dry. Trapped? How? Who are you? But before the girl could answer, the door to room 217 slammed shut with a deafening bang, and the lights flickered out. Priya felt an icy grip around her wrist and stumbled backward, falling to the floor. She could still see the girl in the mirror, now frantic, pounding on the glass as though it were a prison. Panicking, Priya tried to reach the door, but it wouldn't budge. She turned back to the mirror, where the girl's face had changed, now twisted with anger, her eyes dark and cold. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice hissed, though Priya couldn't see her lips move. "This is my room." The room grew colder, the air thick with dread. Shadows seemed to crawl across the floor, creeping closer to Priya. She screamed and threw herself against the door, finally breaking it open and tumbling out into the hallway. The other students and teachers rushed to find her huddled, pale and trembling, on the floor outside room 217. She tried to explain what she'd seen, but no one believed her. The principal sternly reminded her why they had rules in place, telling her that room 217 was dangerous and should never be entered. Priya never fully recovered from that night. Her friends noticed she became withdrawn and quiet, her once bright eyes now shadowed with fear. Some nights, she would sit in her bed, staring at the door, listening for footsteps coming from the third floor. She swore she could still hear faint whispers calling her name, coming from behind that locked door. The school eventually boarded up room 217, sealing it off completely. But sometimes, when the night was especially quiet, students claimed they could hear soft cries and whispers echoing through the hallways. It was as if the room, and the girl trapped inside, wasn't quite done with St. Margaret's. Would you dare to walk past the room no one enters?